Okay, this is going to be part one of how to use Maya in relation to Call of Duty 5. Um, First and foremost, you need Maya version 8.5. No other version will work. Um, and this is because the toolbar, or the plugin that Treyarch, or really IW, gave us only works with Maya 8.5. Hopefully Black Ops will be updated to work with 2011, but for now this is what we get. I'm not going to run through how to use the program. There's numerous tutorials on the internet already on how to do that. What I'm going to focus on is how I use the program and how I get things done, and I'll mention what I'm doing along the way, but I'm not going to walk you through as if you've never used the program before. But I'll try to explain what I'm doing as best I can. So, I'm not going to walk through how to create static models. Those are probably the easiest ones to create. Once you know how to make weapons, which is what I'm going to show you, you can make models. I'm not even going to show you how to make models, because also numerous tutorials on Google. Look it up yourself. I'm just going to show you the importing process, how the engine interprets joints, and how to export it, and how to get it in the game. So first, let's start by just looking at a properly set up weapon, and I'm going to explain the parts of the weapon. Let's see. What's a good one to look at? How about this one? Okay. So here's the weapon I made, known as the blast shield. Obviously, it's part of a Panzerschreck and part of my Remington shotgun morphed into one, and textured differently. So right away, I'm going to hit 4 on my keyboard to go into wire grid mode. 4 goes into wire grid, 5 goes into untextured, and 6 is textured. Number 1, if you ever plan on your model being animated, which if you don't, then ignore this if you're just going to make static models, but if you plan on ever animating it, it's going to need a joint system, and that's what these are. You can look up on Google how to make them. J-gun is the root joint. That's pretty much the spot where the game... I don't want to say that it's where the hand goes in the game, because it's not, but if you think of it that way, it makes more sense. But it's basically where the gun places where the game places the gun. It's basically the gun's origin. It doesn't pay attention to the grid file in Maya, which is this. It doesn't give a shit where the grid is. It only cares where J-gun is. So if your gun isn't placed in the hand correctly, move J-gun around. And then you'll notice it's connected to these nodes, or not nodes, still in Radiant mode here, joints. It's connected to these joints. We have J-pump, and we have tag flash. J-pump is a predefined joint in the engine that tells the game that it's a pump shotgun grip, and that the animation is going to use that model piece when animating the shotgun. And then tag flash is the same thing. The game interprets that as the place where it needs to show the flash animation, the muzzle flash. And I don't have one on this gun, but there's usually one right here called tag brass, which is where it ejects the bullets. And there's more if you have a sniper rifle or a revolver, specialized weapons. The more specialized and ungeneral the weapon or model is, the more tags it has. If you look at a player model, it has hundreds of tags on it, and it's just utterly ridiculous that anyone has that much patience. I would not spend my time doing that. Then the other important thing that you need to know when animating a gun is that each joint needs to be what's the word I'm looking for? Bound, yeah, bound to the model, and this is not an example to look at for that. Let's see. Hopefully this is. There we go. Okay. So this obviously, like I was just saying, this has a much more complex system of joints here. You know, we've got one for the scope, one for the flash, one for the revolving chamber, one for the gun origin, one that's you know, it's not named, but it's targeting the hammer, so I would assume that tells the game where the hammer is. It's got one for the clip, not quite sure why that's there, because it uses this. And then it's got the clip off to the side, J-bolt, tag speed loader, and all the bullets, you know, whatever. It's complicated. So notice when I click some of these, some of the meshes turn purple. Okay, what does that mean? That means that that joint is bound to that object. Whenever you're going to want your gun to be animated, you're going to have to bind each joint to a corresponding, well, not all of them, but most joints to a corresponding mesh. And don't hold me to this, but generally what I've noticed is that anything that's prefixed with J needs to be bound to a mesh, whereas anything prefixed with tag does not. I don't know if that's always true, or if it's, you know, if it's a completely idiotic thing to say, but that's generally what I've noticed. Now, here, this is a more obvious example. So I have J-bolt, and notice it is bound to the slide on the gun, and the slide is a separate mesh from the rest of the gun. And it's also bound. I combined the slide and the holographic sight so that they would move as one object. Whoops! What the fuck did I just click? Oh, okay. And we have tag flash here, and we have the gun origin right there. And notice the J gun is bound to everything. And that's not because I went through and clicked everything, but that's because everything on the skeleton is bound to something. J-gun isn't bound to anything but the other joints. J-clip is bound to the clip. J-bolt is bound to the slide. Tag brass is bound to nothing. Tag flash is bound to nothing. And J-gun, oh, I made a mistake when I said earlier. J-gun is bound to the remaining meshes that don't need to be animated, which in this case is only this piece right here. But everything's highlighted because everything on that skeleton of joints is bound to an object on the gun. So that's what enables things to be animated. That took me a while to figure out, and a lot of help from a lot of subtle hints from Tom on how to do that. But I finally figured that out. I've still yet to conquer animation. Tom is still the only one that knows how to do that. But anyway. Now let's go through. That's end of part 1. I'm going to make a part 2 now that goes through the whole process of importing and exporting.